Alright, I just need Pixel Chat to stop being a piece of shit, and I think we should be fine. Okay, there we go. Alright. Damn, it's been a minute, hasn't it? First of all, Happy New Year. Um, Happy Friday. I hope that the day was restful and or productive for you. I hope that those of you did not have to work like dogs over the holiday got a chance to rest. Those of you that did, I hope you got a chance to rest. Um, yeah, I just hope everybody's okay. Hey, Kettle, and hi, Stubby. But yeah, let me go turn off this light behind me actually, real quick. I was playing music, and it's highly likely that, of course, I forgot to make sure to switch to the actual audio source because that's what happens when I haven't streamed for 2 weeks. I forget how to do everything. I also forgot to turn off Night. I also forgot to turn off Nightbot doing Nightbot things. So I guess I need to go fix that now. Yeah, basically, everything is exactly the way that it should be. Is what I'm getting at. Go turn off this timer. Today is not too bad. I just got rid of that one because that poll's closed. Today's been okay. A couple of things I meant to get done today and I didn't, but it's the last day of my vacation before I gotta go back to work, so it's fine. In the overall, I'm okay. I've just been kind of sleepy. I'm not feeling sick, but I'm maybe 80% or so. I had jury duty yesterday. I had to get up balls early, make it down to the courthouse in time, and I didn't wind up actually sitting for any cases or anything, but still kind of exhausting, so it's kind of there. And taking a day to do particular hours. Yeah, I've just been doing little bits of cleaning around the apartment here and there. I probably need to do a little bit more over the weekend. Just kind of I haven't dusted in a while, things like that. I slept the other day, but I might have to sweep again. I probably have to sweep again and handle a couple other things, is what I mean. But yeah, in the overall, I'm doing okay, honestly. But yeah, I just refreshed a couple little things here and there. So we have new backgrounds. Probably gonna update the chat bubbles maybe a little bit later in the year. Oh, pardon me. Just refresh a couple things. Bring us into the new year with some style as we go through the rest of January. Yeah, I don't have that much. I don't really have that much to say insofar as anything else in terms of announcements and things like that. The only other major announcement I have is going to have to wait until things either come through or don't. But I guess I could talk about what we have planned coming up. So, I was intending to start us on. I was intending to start us on Freedom Planet 2. worries, Kettle. Yeah, I was thinking about starting Freedom Planet 2 for Sunday, but given that we finally have the ability to finish and play Legend of Legaia, and considering that depending on how things go, I will very much be playing a lot of Freedom Planet in my off time anyway. Probably what I'm gonna do is I still want to do Freedom Planet 2 this year, like I said in December before we left. I just want to make sure that I'm like continuing to break it up properly so I don't like burn out. So probably yeah, probably we're gonna do Legend of Legaia, I think, on Sunday. Depending on how I feel. Do some Legend of Legaia. And if we're still feeling that, we want to carry that all the way through, finish that before we go back to doing anything for Freedom Planet. I know that a suggestion I'd gotten last stream was to do like Black Games for Black History Month. So probably for February, I think we will probably continue. I'll probably pick up where I left off on my playthrough of Validate and probably just do that. I just have to figure out we're gonna be charity fundraising for and things like that. I gotta figure that out. And I also need to I said I was gonna upload all of our all of the VODs that are missing from like last year, and I didn't do that. Huh. Anyway, either which way, we'll figure it out. Let's get the games. That's what we're here for. Alright, I forgot that's why I don't put... Hang on, I gotta move my throne, because I just remembered that this is why I don't put it. Let's do this. That should do. I did order Chipotle, so if I'm looking away or looking up, suddenly like somebody was like yelling something at me, assume that it's because I'm like checking my phone or trying to listen for whether or not the delivery person has come through. What's this thing called? We just... Yeah. I'm a little rusty, only because I'm just trying to remember how to do everything about this. So, I'm moving a little slower. I'm just kind of like... just trying to like shake off the rust and try to remember what it is I need to be doing. Opens. Go. Game looks gorgeous, but I'm interested in how fun it is to play. Basically, it's gonna be the same thing that I say all the time about this kind of thing, where it's like, hang on, where basically the answer to that question is too subjective for me to give like a straight answer. It is less. It is a little bit less, and I say a little only in the context of like relatively speaking. It's a little more approachable, I think, than the game immediately preceding it. It's a little more approachable than Actress Again current code, I think, but only by like a little. I sort of started learning how to play this character, Ushiwaka, and then sort of didn't. So we're just gonna take our time, and I'm gonna figure it out. And then worst comes to worst, I'll just go back to playing Howard CL like I always do. Okay, yeah, so Melty Blood. Basically speaking, so to re-go over the history of this game for people who have not seen it played on this channel before, who have never heard of it before, all that other stuff. So, this light novel by the name of Tsukihime, right? It's about this kid named Chiki Tono who has these eyes that let him see the death of things. And I don't mean like only like living people or things like that. I mean the literal end and death of any concept that he can perceive, right? After a long time away, he returns to his hometown where his sister has kind of been waiting for him to come back for a while, and he gets quickly embroiled in lots of shenanigans. That visual novel, aside from another sort of sequel that it got, also got a fighting game spin-off by the name of Melty Blood, made by a company called French Bread. And basically, French Bread took the original version of Melty Blood and spent roughly about a decade and change kind of like re-releasing new versions, updating it, generally kind of like putting more and more features in and all these other things, culminating in the game Melty Blood, Actress Again, current code, right? That's the version of Melty Blood that immediately precedes this game. Now, while all that was going on, Type Moon, who wrote the company that like wrote the original Tsukihime novel, also went on to do Fate Stay Night, and then Fate Stay Night as a franchise over time up until like we got like Fate Grand Order, and it basically exploded. Like at that point, basically, Type Moon was really busy trying to get like Fate franchise stuff off the ground, and we're really busy working with that. But for a very long time, aside from that, it has always been intended for there to be a remake of the original Tsukihime visual novel. We finally got that sometime around like 2020 or 2021 or so. Tsukihime, a Piece of Blue Glass Moon, is a remake and setting update of the original Tsukihime visual novel. And in the same way that Melty Blood sort of ties into the story of the original Tsukihime, and that's my food. Right there. Alright. I'm gonna do this, pour myself something to drink, and then I'll keep talking. I didn't lose my train of thought this time, which is admittedly a rarity, but I'm in top form today, I guess. So. Right. So, the thing I was saying, in the same way that the original Tsukihime visual novel basically had Melty Blood as a sequel, Melty Blood type Lumina functionally acts as a prequel to the remake of Tsukihime. So the original visual novel Tsukihime had Melty Blood as a follow-up game. The remake of Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon, has this game, Melty Blood type Lumina, as kind of a prequel to Tsukihime proper. The remake, that is. So, in a lot of ways, this game is a modernized take on some of the original concepts from the first and early versions of Melty Blood, repackaged and redistilled down into a simpler, to a degree anyway, into a simpler and less built up version of Melty Blood as it was circa current code. The main things to note are that we have the attacking buttons, right? A, B, and C, as well as a shield button, D. One of the major features of Melty Blood as a franchise is what we call the reverse beat. So, while I can do A, B, C, like A, B, B, C, C, right? I can also change the order as long as I don't try to use the same button twice in a row. It's a visual novel. Visual novel. Not a light novel, visual novel. But yeah. One of the main features of Melty Blood is the reverse beat. So while I can do A, B, C, I can also do B, A, C, C, A, B, B, C, A, C, A, B, right? Or C, B, A. Basically, as long as I don't, with certain exceptions, as long as I don't use the same button twice, or try to use the same button twice, I can basically do A, B, and C in any order that I want. Also, hey, Stubby. I'll get to that in a second. Stubby, but yes. But yeah, Kado. Tsukihime is a visual novel. The original version of Tsukihime, which is really, really dated at this point, you have to play via fan translation. And even the remake is kind of the same way. The remake of Tsukihime has not been released in the West as of yet. I don't know if it ever will be, because the writer at Type Moon is a very particular human being. About his work and how he wants it experienced. So, Type Moon does not like making money. Well, it's not so much that, in as much as Type Moon at this point basically is okay. I can't say to what degree because I don't know their internal financials, but it's kind of the opposite. It's more like Fate Grand Order has made so much money that now Nasu more or less is like, I'm gonna do things how I want because I have more or less probably made enough residuals. Maybe. Well, I'm spitballing here because it's possible that maybe he doesn't actually see as much of this as we would like. But Type Moon is functionally solvent enough, thanks to Fate Grand Order, that Nasu can probably afford to be a little picky like that. So not pressing the same button twice in a row is different from a lot of other fighting games, right? Reverse beat is something that was popularized by the original Melty Blood. So I don't know if I would say that it's it's different from a lot of them, but not all of them, because there are certain games that have taken how Melty Blood has done it and sort of done that, right? So like reverse beat is it's something that you usually see primarily in French bread games. So if you play Melty Blood, if you play Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax Ignition, if you play Under Night In-Birth, all three of those games have reverse beats in them, but it's most prominent in this game and in Under Night. And there are probably other games aside from French bread games that do have reverse beats, but it's not a it's something that it's something that Melty Blood popularized, but I mean, I get not wanting translations not being made at the point is deeply tied to the culture. I don't know if Type Moon is like that, but something. So the reason why it's like, I'm gonna put it like this: it's a thing where you could theoretically argue that, but it's also one of those things where yeah, I mean that's one thing, right? He's very explicit about like, I don't want people playing Tsukihime Remake on PC. It is kind of integral to my vision that you sit and you play it on a console, which is why it's only on like PS4 and PS5. The reason why Kettle it's one of those things where you go like, is because basically speaking, right? The backstory for this character over here on the right, Aoko Aozaki, one of the earliest visual novels that Kinoko Nasu ever wrote. It's called Witch on the Holy Night, Mahosukai no Yoru. That is getting an English release. So it's one of those things where it's like, there are other parts of the Tsukihime franchise that you're fine with getting exports, or at least things that are like roughly Tsukihime adjacent, or things that are just in the general part of your universe that you're fine with, but then others you're not. Yeah, he's just being weird about it. Because Witch on the Holy Night is getting that. Fate Grand Order, which at this point has not a ton of not Tsukihime really, but like Fate Grand Order, right? To kind of drive the point home here, right? The initial version of Fate Stay Night also didn't get an overseas release, but this is like way back then, right? However, enough of the rest of the Fate franchise has been popular enough that it's gotten overseas release. So yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, he's just really being weird about it. The energy's like real weird. It's like, but for what reason? It is. And it's one of those things where if he would reconsider his stance on that and do a PC release, and more importantly, be willing to have it localized, then he wouldn't have to worry about like, oh, well, you know, PC won't be the intended experience. Like, you could just do that though. Very weird energy. But yeah. So we have the concept of reverse beats, right? I'm just gonna go back to this for a second. Because we could sit and I could like go on rants about Nasu all day. So the interesting thing about reverse beats, right, is that you can use them with reverse beats in particular, aside from using them for combo stuff, right? You can also use reverse beats to make certain moves safer. Like for example, if Alco blocked this out here, I could then whip cancel to 5A as a reverse beat, and then be able to block for things like that. So it's a thing where rebeats can help do interesting things with your pressure in ways that other fighting games might not let you get away with. And it's a large part of why and like rebeats and such are part of why, right? Melty's offense is kind of the way it is. You'll see what I mean when we get a little bit more into it. But aside from that, we also have, we'll go over shielding and stuff a little bit later, but new to this game specifically is also the idea of these moon skills. You have like your bog standard set of special moves, right? Alright, you have like your bog standard set of special moves, right? Something specific to Melty Blood is that the heavy version, the C version of a lot of special moves, right, is sort of by most standards, right? They're basically sort of like EX moves. This actually sounds easy for me to get into, more so than the other popular fighting games. Not hitting the same button twice is surprisingly easier on me than learning moves in chunks, even to process it. Okay, so like here's the thing, right? It's not so much I'm not saying it's a hard rule that you're not... Let me phrase this carefully. It's one of those things where I'm not saying it, and I know that, just to be clear about it, I'm saying that it is a function of a thing that you can do, but it's not always a thing that you have to do, right? Because it's more about, I was demonstrating more as an example of how flexible the system is, but you can literally do combos where you do in fact hit the same button twice, it's just that you're doing different versions of the button, right? So here, right, I'm doing 5B, my standing B, but I'm also doing 2B, my crouching B. So there may be a combo where I go like this. So when I say that you can't like hit the same button twice, it's one of those things where I mean more along the lines of like, if you try it, so to demonstrate my point, this is something that's new to Type Lumina. Let me go back to the character select for a second and demonstrate a thing real quick. So, with the default control scheme, I'm going to put on the default control scheme to kind of emphasize this for a second. There is a thing that happens if you hit the same button twice while you're using the default control scheme. And I'm going to explain what that is in a second. I'm going to just turn on the default for a second. And yeah, Kettle, the main thing is that even so, for combos in this game, you still have to chunk stuff. That's not different. That's not really any different. So, on the default control scheme, if you hit the same button more than once in a row, you'll get what's called a rapid beat. which is basically just an auto combo that launches. You can also kind of use this feature to help you do a little bit of completion for like certain air combos and things like that, but that's about the limit of it. So the reason why like knowing how to do reverse beats and when to do them and when not to do them is important is because certain combos will require you to not use a button until you hit a certain point in the chain. It's one of those things where so I bring up not hitting the same button twice in a row because sometimes it's the thing that you have to do, but the routing is a lot more flexible than I make it sound like. And it doesn't, yeah. And I would say that the main thing is that it doesn't actually change, yeah. Okay. It feels easier than it actually being easy. Okay, I think I get where you're going. Yeah, I could go into a bunch of other mechanical stuff. But I think that most of that will probably be better served in an actual match at some point. So I'm just gonna practice a couple combos and maybe talk about a couple other things, and then we'll get into it. Couple basic combos that I need to pick up. Hey, base. Doing alright. A little sleepy, but in the overall, I think I'm doing okay. Slightly adjust a couple things in here. Alright, good. So, turn off rapid beat. I gotta turn off rapid beat real quick. Or at least I have to switch it from the default option to it to something else. So, the nice thing about rapid beat is that you have the option to either leave it on default, set it up so that it only comes out when you do a certain button input, not use it at all, or not use it in the air, depending on how you want to do it. I recommend personally that if you're just getting started, I can check myself into thinking this game is easy while playing, even though it's not. Like a Guilty Gear, funnily enough. Basically, my main process thing to do. Accent Core plus R is also just a very complex game. Like, Accent Core plus R, which is the one I know that you've been doing, like, playing a lot of, that game is really complex. Just to be very straight up with you. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't play it or anything like that. It's just that literally AC plus R is probably the most complex that Guilty Gear has been ever. Again, doesn't mean you shouldn't play it. It's just that is the thing to kind of keep in mind. Wasn't Asuka like really off the beaten path because of how you had to push a button to change directions? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Base. You may have to specify. Alko's style is bland as hell. She's also one of the most powerful magicians in the entire setting. So I'm also gonna, yeah, and this is actually also a good point that you bring up, Kettle, because it is also a thing that most people will bring up as part of like why Melty Blood isn't cool. Like all the characters just okay. Ushiwaka Maru is different because she's a crossover character from Fate Grand Order, and Fate gets weird with some of the character designs that they do. But most characters that are sort of like native to Melty Blood or native to Tsukihime have what appear to be very plain designs, but it's because Tsukihime Tsukihime's entire conceit is literally urban horror. So to be very clear about that, that's why. If you're like, these designs seem like really plain and kind of dripless, like it's urban horror functionally is what the sort of core, or maybe not horror, urban fantasy and a little bit of urban horror are kind of the main conceits of Tsukihime. It's a very deliberate thing. Because one of the things that they're very deliberate about is that, like, oh yeah, some of these characters look very plain and very normal, but in the right situation, they will absolutely fuck you up. Guilty Gear Isuka? Yeah. Isuka's a beat 'em up and not a fighting game. It's part of why. But, yeah. So yeah, like, as a design thing, as far as the Tsukihime characters go, some of them may look really plain and be like, well, yeah, wow, these designs are really tripless. Okay, something that's cool in a visual novel, but not so interesting in a fighting game. Not a bad deciding choice, but not my favorite. Yeah. Well, basically, but this is also kind of like the main thing, right? Where it's like, at least for me, I think it then winds up highlighting the differences a lot better. Because it's one of those things that, because I hear you on that point, Kettle, but it's one of those things that then when you see this character who looks very plain, then doing something absolutely absurd, that sort of helps capture the same dynamic that exists in Tsukihime, right? As an example. It's very much a very deliberate design decision, not just from like a visual perspective, but also from a perspective of like, how does this game feel to play, right? Yeah. Yep. But yeah, base. Yeah. Guilty Gear Isuka is not a fighting game. That's why. In the same way that Guilty Gear 2 Overture is not a fighting game. It is an action. Guilty Gear 2 Overture is an action RTS. Alright, I forgot to explain what's going on with Ushiwaka Maru. So, Ushiwaka Maru right? The reason why her design is so different is because it's something Stubby pointed out earlier. She's a crossover character from Fate Grand Order. there are, and this is something that did annoy a couple of people, but it is what it is, right? Yes, like Saber. So Saber, Mash, Ushiwaka, and the Count of Monte Cristo are all crossover characters from Fate, from Fate Grand Order, basically. Technically, Saber is from Fate Stay Night, but Fate Grand Order is in that general bucket, so it counts. So the reason why their designs are so different is because Saber, the Count of Monte Cristo, Ushiwaka, and Mash, as part of their storylines, basically, they are functionally, these four characters that I pointed out are basically either the direct incarnations of or partial incarnations of fictional and real historical characters. Saber's identity is redacted. Ushiwaka is a figure from Japanese folklore, usually associated with Tengu, but the real Ushiwaka, in terms of like in our world, is not a girl. The Count of Monte Cristo is the Count of Monte Cristo, except here he has like evil vengeance powers and stuff. And then Mash, Chirolite, is basically a regular human being that is like partially fused with one of those figures from Myth, basically. Which figure from Myth? I would tell you, but it's spoilers, so I can't say it. And NekoArc is NekoArc. We're not talking about NekoArc. NekoArc is a whole other thing onto herself. But yeah, the reason why Ushiwaka design is so different is because she's not a Tsukihime character. She's a fake Grand Order character. Fate franchise is something I've wanted to get into, but it's a lot. I have a Google Doc that explains. That. If at any point you actually want to read that Google Doc, so you have a rough idea of what you're getting into and what you may or may not care about, I can give that to you. But yeah, that's why. Let's say I have so many games I have to finish, there's no rush, but I'll take you up on that one day. Yeah. And the nice thing about the Natsuverse is that it's not just games either. So depending on what it is and how you feel, depending on what it is you want to do or how it is you want to deal with it, it's entirely up to you as to whether or not you actually want to play other games in the Fate franchise or not. There's a combo from the wiki that I'm trying to do real quick, just because I'm curious. Super jump canceling a special. Okay, that's fine. not what I wanted. I'm wondering. Speaking of, realized that time passed real fast when I play RTS. Called Supreme Commander, started playing. Yeah, that happens. Now I'm wondering how many fighting games, successful or not, have to start visual novels, or is this rarity? It's going to depend. The short answer is that usually that kind of thing really only happens with doujin games. So usually like small self-published fighting games are where you're more than likely going to see that. It is less rare than you think, but a lot of the games in question that do that, are a lot on the smaller side. As a perfect example of the kind of thing that I mean, I will quite literally link y'all to probably one of the best examples that I can think of that. So it's less rare than you think, but it's not a thing with like big games. But like the two biggest examples that I can think of outside of like Melty Blood, off the top of my head, that aren't gonna go into like hyper forbidden territory, Eternal Fighter Zero and OMK. OMK specifically is literally a fighting game for the visual novel turned anime Umineku no Naku Koro ni. So yeah, they exist. It's a thing. Technically speaking, Dengeki Bunko also has light novel characters more than visual novel characters, but it's a thing. But it's absolutely a thing. Also, hey Anna, what's up? But yeah, the short answer to your question, Kettle, is that yes, the term exactly. Doujin is literally just shorthand for any work that is self-published, more or less. Any self-published fan work more or less falls under the bucket of doujin, and the actual like genre of game in question is not relevant to whether or not it's a doujin game. That's correct. Okay, so I can do a neutral growth. I don't think it's it. Just a lot of the most notable doujin are straight up. Yeah. Really bad, but it'll get better eventually. Probably going to try and write some things to see if I can beat the funnies. How are you, SJ? And I'm doing okay. I think it's still a little bit sleepy from like having to sit through a bunch of like jury duty bullshit yesterday. But in general, I'm okay. This is my last day of vacation before I have to go back to work tomorrow. And it's like, ugh. So I'm more or less trying to enjoy that. And we're kind of going from there. I mean, I got some things done, which is the important part, right? I'm not necessarily in a position where it's like, oh. Give me 1 second, y'all. Sorry. Just. Trying out a thing real quick. Okay, that's fast. Super jump. Cancel. But okay, so but nope. I don't know. I may have to throw a couple of my own starter combos into here because this one isn't like terrible, but it's like against board games in theory, they're just mostly awful in gameplay and design. Found a really good one a while back. We see it's still being created. Damn it. I don't want to do that. It's telling me that I need to super jump cancel. So the idea behind this combo that I'm trying to do, it's gonna depend on the dojin thing though. If it's like a fan work dojin, it's like a 50-50. If it's, because remember, again, like when we say self-published, right? It can quite literally mean anything from a thing that is a fan game to a thing that is not. It's a very extremely broad category. Like most Toho dojin dojin games like Toho, for example, those can stick around for like a hot minute, honestly, because Zun is not super shitty necessarily about Toho fan work. Like a lot of Toho dojin games, for example, will stick around for a hot minute. That's good to hear, though, Anna. Okay, that works. We can do that. Open world dating sim set with flawless features of a cyberpunk dystopia, which you take on the role of thinking, learning Joy, who's recently escaped from. That's good. I like that. DM's probably fine. Yeah, I'd say throw that one in DMs. I appreciate you checking first. Okay, this can work. So, rather than the combo I've been trying to do this whole time, I think I'm going to stick to this. So, to explain the thing I've been doing, right? So, Ushiwaka Maru's 236A. So when I say 236, I mean quarter circle forward. 236 is faster to say. So her 236A is dashing attack, right? Has 3 follow-ups to it. I can do that. This for side switching, or this to drop down and cut them. The A follow-up, if I delay the timing correctly, right? Lets me do this. Pretty chill, right? So the combo that I've been trying to do involves like some complicated stuff with like, okay, cool, you do this. Like, cool, you do the run, do that, and then some other stuff. But I can't. It's one of those things that I'm gonna have to go lab on my own. So I'm gonna do basically. I'm basically gonna do like an easier variant of it where I just set things up, right? So I'll do bop 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 bop, or rather bop 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 bop. Delay it, wait for them to come down, and then do stuff. So that's the thing, right? It's been a little bit since I've talked about this kind of thing, but I kind of want to emphasize that, like with fighting games in particular, a lot of people want to jump like to like, okay. Or one of the mistakes that I see a lot of the time in material that's trying to like teach somebody how to play a certain character in a fighting game is that they'll be like, okay, so like your bread and butter thing is like this 7-step combo that you gotta learn in order to like get this to work correctly, right? Like the starter combo that I'm looking at on the wiki as an example, right? This is not a bad combo, but for someone who has not yet familiarized themselves with someone that has not yet familiarized themselves with Ushiwaka Maru's basic combo theory, doing a thing where it's like, oh hey, we want you to like do this thing where you gotta like do this move, super jump cancel, and a lot of that is a little bit much to start with, right? So for me in particular, right, even like the specific string that they want me to do. So, all right. Okay. So Ushiwaka Maru, what I'm talking about when I say basic combo theory for Ushiwaka Maru, I mean things like the fact that you can jump cancel this follow-up is like a very sort of critical part of a lot of the way that her combo theory works, but you have to know how to do it. How do you want for content? I'm pretty bad. Don't realize other people. I mean, basically, I sit down. It's one of those things where it's a thing you sort of develop. You develop a sense for it, in terms of like the thing is that the big stuff, you start with that, and then the other things kind of just begin to become a little more obvious the more that you sort of like are in places where other where these things come up. Like for example, I know to look for things like, oh yeah, this is going to involve difficult relationships with parents because surprise, surprise, surprising nobody, without going into too much detail, right? I have not had it as difficult with my parents that I have as other people have had, but from listening to other people talk about things like, yeah, wow, like things talking about parents really like dig deep with me, and not that it's like, oh, I automatically hate everything that has to do with like works that talk about parents, but it's like now when things talk about parents and like how you deal with that, it's like, oh, that's a lot, right? Like really, I'll put it like this. It's not that different than getting your feet under you for like doing content warnings for things like books or movies or things like that. It's just one of those things that you will begin to pick up on it more as you begin to get more of an understanding of the kinds of things that people in the world around you have had difficulty with. And once you get to the point where like, okay, now I realize that like so for me, for example, right? Like with Anime Saturday as an example, right? One of the things that I did literally do as a content warning, that I do as a blanket content warning for Symphogear, is that there is a good chunk of the story that is about difficult familial relationships. Because I have been around people who have had difficult familial relationships, right? Where they feel like they have never been able to please their parents a day in their life, or their parents are overly critical, or this or that, or all these other things, right? And once you have kind of like been around people who have lived that, and it's a thing where they'll maybe go, yeah, it's really a bummer when work or when like movies or shows talk about this and they never warn me, and I kind of have to like get hit by it and sit with that and feel a kind of way about it, right? Once you begin to hear that more often, that's the thing where you're like, oh yeah, I could probably do content warnings for that. And you're not, yeah. I wonder where that, which that, Anna. I think I was like halfway following your train of thought and then I lost it. Which that do you mean? When you say I wonder where that partially comes from, which that do you mean? My train of thought was almost following yours and it kind of like, yeah, like everything everywhere all at once. I wasn't expecting it to hit me like that. Yeah, right? But like, if you remember how Nessa sat down and said like, yeah, no, y'all, you have to understand that there's going to be some serious shit about like difficult relationships with your parents and things like that in this, right? That comes from, also sent both Kettle and Base the name of the game. You want me to send it to you as well? What genre of game is it? Is it a visual novel? Because like Validate aside, I'm not like super big on them, but not because I think like they're bad or anything. It's just that I don't usually play a lot of visual novels. Oh, that me being more aware. Yeah. Just being around people who have had a combination of both therapy and being around people who have been in situations where it's like, where they tell me stories and I'm like, I want to fight your parents so bad. And I know it's not helpful for me to say it, so I'm not going to say it. But understand that if I had, it's a dating sim. Probably not my speed. I appreciate you doing the offer, but like, yeah, dating sims, like, I'm just like, looks a bit like Valhalla. Yeah, dating sims I'm not normally super big on. So for now, I'm gonna say I'll pass. But if it tweaks my interest a little later, I'll send you a DM to ask you to throw it to me. Okay, that makes sense. Just have to pay attention to what bothers people, especially when it's so different. Yeah, it's a thing that you get a sense for. When you're around enough streams where streamers are conscious of that kind of thing, you'll pick up on how to do it. Also, hi, Valeo. Right. I was saying something about combo theory, and then we got distracted by that. Let me wind that back. So, Hotable Boyfriend. Probably one part dating sim, one part visual novel. From what I know about it, it's both. And Paige Gatling. Captain has arrived. Alright. Just shout out real quick for Orion D. Black. S.O. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much for the follow. We do keep those anonymous so that people can kind of lurk as they need. But hey, everybody from Orion Stream. My name is Sean. You can call me either that or SJ. Either is fine. I make games. I play games. Games make you basically. This is our first stream back in the year. We're technically playing some Melty Blood type Lumina. I'm sort of just like warming myself up and kind of like getting things going. How was Ultra Kill, Captain? How did that go? Well, yeah, welcome on in, y'all, to the Gauge Gang. Good to see y'all. But yeah. I love Hot Up a Boyfriend. I have all the achievements, which reminds me I need to finish the sequel. I've been into many Seppi streams lately. I had shout out already typed out before I remembered law. Having modded with you, Shark. Only if you want it. Keep in mind that the sword is always yours to claim if you would like. It's not me saying that you have to. This is me saying that if at any point you decide that it's the thing you want to contribute to, for here, you have that option. You don't have to, but you can. I've already beaten it, but I'm doing new game plus and it's legit. We love to hear it. We love to hear it. That's what we love to hear. Get in. So yeah, let me get my brain rerouted on the thing I was talking about with basic combo theory. Because Kettle asked a question about that. I completely got distracted and forgot to answer what they were asking me, so I gotta try to re-explain. So, okay, Anna, don't go putting words in my mouth. What I said to Shark was, and to be clear, absolutely my joking face. Because I know that sometimes I don't do that very well. Absolutely my joking face. It was an option, TM. I would never use the public stage to ever do that to somebody. Absolutely not. Never. Me? No. Nah, never. I know I'm trying not to all over the place. I'd be on it though. Yeah, basically, if at any point you seriously want to, just shoot me a DM. I know I don't like check my Twitter DMs anymore, almost, but like, if that is a thing that you ever are seriously interested in at some point, then you know where to find me. But yeah, I'm just like, joking around as well. Yeah, I figured, but I just wanted to be absolutely sure because I know that most people will get how we're doing it. Like, you and I can do that, and we're good. And I know most people will go like, I don't know how much I can be around right now, but I can hit you up on co-host if you have it. I mean, it is your decision. That is the simplest way I'm going to put it. If it is a thing that you want to do, then do what you need. You're not. going to say I don't think you have to. You don't also have to feel like you need to switch steps over from Ko-Fi because I keep more of that anyway. So if you're already done up on Ko-Fi, you don't need to switch. It's the simplest way I could put it. But yeah, we can talk about like co-host or something. But yeah, so if you have anything you want to talk about on that front, hit me up on co-host, and we can spit shop after stream is over. Okay, right, combo theory. Kettle, they'd asked the question about that at some point, and I was explaining the thing and then I forgot. Okay, so like basically what I was saying before is that rather than the combo that I was supposed to be learning how to do, I'm doing something easier on purpose. Because like the combo that I was trying to do, I've been trying to figure out how to do it for like the last 30 minutes or so, and it's like, you know, I could do it. Could, but I don't want to. So like basically, one of the things, for example, this is specifically talking about Ushiwaka Maru, right? One of the things with Ushi is that when you do 236A, this move, right? 236A, with the A follow-up is this, right? There's supposed to be a thing that you should be able to do where you basically, I can do this correctly without messing this up. I can do this without fucking it up. Right, so the idea is that I should be able to do, if I time this correctly, the idea is that I should be able to do this and like do let's call it super jump cancel to get like this and some other stuff. And that's listed as a starter combo on the wiki, right? This concept of like, okay, you have to be able to super jump cancel the move and do all this other stuff. That's listed like a starter combo. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I would call that a starter combo because, and I'm gonna probably, and this is one of those things I might try to like put forward on the wiki as like a, hey, I think we should like shuffle this down a little bit more in terms of difficulty because, right? It's one of those things where, this is my perspective on it, right? It is important to know that you can jump cancel this, right? So appreciated. I was wearing really, yeah. Like in my case, I can also vouch that I knew that you were joking, because we know each other like that. But I also know that, like for me also, sometimes when I respond to things, like my style of humor is to respond sometimes to jokes as if they are serious, but not in like the, oh, I'm actually angry at you sense, but in the, I am playing along with the bit and pretending that I didn't catch it way, but I know that doesn't scan super well to some people. So that's why I was like, to be clear, I am also joking, right? The time simultaneously let you know that yes, I am playing along. I am playing it straight as if I kind of didn't catch it as part of the joke, if that makes sense. But yeah, in your case, Anna, it's very clear usually when you're like messing around. So yeah, it's there, 100%. But yeah, combo theory stuff, right? So it's one of those things where I'm kind of like a little bit in disagreement with the wiki, if only because like the thing with the wiki is that they're like, yeah, like as a basic thing that you do with Ushiwaka Maru, you should be able to, if I can do this correctly without tilting to fuck it up. I think that's it. As a basic thing with Ushiwaka Maru, according to the wiki anyway, you should be able to do like I can do this correctly. Okay, yeah, that's the theory. So the basic idea, right, is that at least from the wiki, they're like, yeah, so as a starter combo, you should be able to figure out how to do this sequence of events where you, figure out how to delay that and then do that other stuff. And for me, right, when you are just learning how Ushiwaka Maru works, where it's like, oh yeah, I can jump cancel this and things like that, it's a lot to be to somebody like, maybe somebody that's like, even somebody who's like experienced with fighting games, right? It's one of those things where like, I understand what they're asking me to do, but to be like, yeah, so it's like, this is like a basic starter thing that every Ushiwaka Maru player should know how to do a starter thing. It's like, no. I would personally rather start with like something like this. I'm gonna demonstrate what I mean. It does less damage, right? You learn one of the critical things about how Ushiwaka Maru works, which is that you can like trying to think of the way to explain it. I thought I had my phone ringing. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so you want somebody who is just starting maybe to learn how to use this character, to learn basically like 2 or 3 distinct sets of skills. Where it's like, oh, you need to know that you can jump cancel this move, you need to know that you can super jump cancel it, and you need to also be able to pair that with like charging this while delaying, getting a whole bunch of, right? There's a lot of overhead with that. And that's listed as like one of Ushiwaka Maru's basic combos on the list, which I disagree with. It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like even though that does less damage, right? I can get it more consistently. And because I can get it more consistently, that gives me more options for like doing other things. It's not optimal in terms of damage yet. But it doesn't need to be, right? And that's one of the things when I say basic combo theory, it's different for every character. But when I talk about basic combo theory, I'm talking about this from the perspective that there are certain things that you learn about how characters operate first to kind of like get your feet wet, to get the basic idea of how certain things work, and then you get into the more complex things after. So, like for me in particular, thankfully I can edit the wiki and do a couple things. I'm gonna leave the combo that's there, but I feel like I'm gonna see if I can like at some point like get them on some on some starter stuff. It may be a weird question, but since learning fighting games is similar to learning a musical instrument, people who know how to play an instrument find it easier to transfer those skills. It depends on what. It depends on in which capacity that you mean. If you're talking about like, obviously, I know that you don't mean like the hard motor skills of like, oh, if I know how to play a clarinet, can I operate a fight stick? I know that's not the kind of thing that you mean, but there are certain principles of there are probably certain principles of learning how to play an instrument that do transfer over. Yeah, like being able to follow a beat is a really big part. Yeah, I wasn't doing a lot of it right there. Oh, hang on. I'm not gonna play Ushiwaka Maru online. I was thinking about it, but I'm a little too rusty for that. Yeah, we pretty much landed exactly where I was gonna land. Like the main thing is that hand-eye coordination and what Anna was saying also with like having like a sense of rhythm are both very important sort of skills that kind of like transfer over very well. So I'm going to demonstrate this with a character I actually know how to play relatively well anyway. I was thinking about going online to play Ushiwaka Maru, but I'm a little too rough with her for that to really work out. So I think I'm going to try with Power TL instead. Okay, cool. So for some reason, network play isn't working correctly. Give me 1 second. I really hate being dyslexic sometimes. It's one of the few nerves. Yeah, that's tough. I know you've talked about that kind of thing before. I'm just gonna relaunch Type Lumina real quick to see if I can get this thing to stop being booty butt cheeks and actually let me play matches online. But yeah, I can try to demonstrate the rhythm thing more clearly with a character I actually really know how to play in this game. I think I gotta spend a little more time actively baking. I have to spend a little bit of time actively baking Ushiwaka Maru a little more before I go take her online. Actually, it kind of makes doing anything terrible. Remember being set. Yeah. I just noticed this bugger. Who? Because I realized that I just literally mashed through the opening, so I might have completely ruined your ability to actually check who it was. Why? Hang on a second. I'm gonna have to go look this up. Type player profile error. And the O, like the actual yeah. I changed that before I went live today because I'm like, yeah. I was like, I've had the same one for a while now. Let me change it. God damn it, Steam. If I take those out of the queue and I launch this one more fucking time, let me play the game online against the people I want to. But yeah, I made after the closed beta, I just went ahead and made like 2 wallpapers using the official character renders from the main website for Street Fighter 6. I was just like, yeah, might as well.